This is Kim Barnwell in week 2 of Communication 3000, Communication Theory. This week I'm going to talk to you about the Expectancy Violations Theory by Judy Burgoon. According to Griffin 2006, Judy Burgoon, who is a communication scholar at the University of Arizona, wrote the Expectancy Violations Theory around 1978. She defined personal space as the invisible, variable volume of space surrounding an individual that defines the individual's preferred distance from others. A person's culture and individual preference can also have an impact on a person's personal space. According to Griffin 2006, personal space was original with Burgoon. In the late 1960s, the Illinois Institute of Technology anthropologist Edward Hall coined the term proxemics to refer to the study of people's use of space as a special elaboration of culture. Griffin 2006 states that Hall claimed Americans have 4 proxemic zones. The first is intimate distance, which is what's a comfortable distance for somebody to be from them, and the intimate distance is 0 to 18 inches. The personal distance is 18 inches to 4 feet. A social distance is 4 feet to 10 feet, and a public distance is 10 feet to infinity. Burgoon did agree with Hall's proxemic zones, but according to Griffin 2006, she believed titling these social norms and personal expectations is a superior strategy to conformity, and there are times when it's best to break the rules. For instance, if I were engaging with a woman who I met for the first time in line at a coffee shop and she engaged me in conversation while we were waiting for our coffee, which led into the fact that she had just lost her husband a month earlier, I would see it was evident this woman needed someone to talk to and would invite her to sit down for a cup of coffee just to talk. I might even give her a hug if I noticed she was on the verge of tears. This to me would be a time to break the rules of proxemic zones, and the other person would not take offense to it. Burgoon's original model stated the 4 components. Griffin 2006 states that Burgoon's early model had an invisible threat threshold. The physical and psychological discomfort one feels at this distance can hurt their cause if they feel threatened or violated. Secondly, Burgoon 1978 suggests that noticeable deviations from what we expect cause us to experience a heightened sense of arousal. Griffin 2006 assures us that it isn't the fight or flight, rather such close proximity violating our personal space may cause the person to evaluate the relationship with that person before responding to their request. Griffin 2006 states that Burgoon's third threat is a person with punishing power. In order to avoid conflict, they should stand at least 7 feet or outside of the range of interaction a person is comfortable with. This reminds me of a girl I volunteer with. She is a teacher at the school where I am on the school board, and she has constantly reminded me of how wonderful it is to be a full-time working mother, which I totally congratulate her on. But she does say that stay-at-home mothers should just get a job and do something. She just really knows how to get under my skin, and I sometimes feel it's intentional. At times I do feel guilty for not working outside of my home full-time to help support my family, but in the end I'm happy with my choice and love being here for my daughter on a daily basis. But when she talks to me about anything, she is within my intimate space of 0 to 18 inches, and this just makes me less fond of her. As I back away or look for reasons to move around, she is always following me to stay in that intimate space, and it's very annoying. So there's a good example of punishing power. Lastly, Burgoon suggests that an attractive communicator, a warm, close approach would work well. According to Griffin 2006, the nonverbal expectancy violations model that he tested with his 4 students only held up 1 to 3 when he tested these on his students, with one of the original models being true and 3 of them not being true with Burgoon's theory. So, according to his trial, Burgoon's theory did not succeed well. Griffin 2006 states that the 4 core concepts of the expectancy violations theory are expectancy, violation, valence, and communicator reward valence. We look at other people with the thought of expectancy of what we think will transpire or happen. Burgoon 1978 suggests that we process the context, type of relationship, and characteristics of others in our minds so we can gauge what they might do. For example, I might see my husband approach me with a look of stress on his face, and since he is my husband and we have a personal and intimate relationship, I can expect him to come within my intimate distance, and I would not feel threatened because he is my husband, and I can see that he clearly needs consoling. Context begins with the cultural norms. Each culture has a different approach to what is normal or not for their proximity. It also is related to what type of setting you are in. For example, I might stand closely and talk to my friend while at a play date with our children. But if I am at church, I would not expect to stand next to my pastor and speak directly with them. I would want to observe a public distance. Griffin 2006 states relationship factors include similarity, familiarity, liking, and relative status. Burgoon discovered that people of all ages and stations in life anticipate that lower status people will keep their distance. Griffin 2006 states communicator characteristics include all of the age, sex, place of birth, demographic facts asked for on application forms, but they also include personal features that may affect expectation even more: physical appearance, personality, and communication style. To me, this means that a person who looks friendly through their nonverbal cues and is dressed nice and attractive would not pose a threat to me if they approached me in my personal distance or personal space. The last is valences. Griffin 2006 states the violation valence refers to the positive or negative value we place on a specific unexpected behavior, regardless of who does it. If a person acts uncharacteristically from what we typically anticipate or expect from a person, we then start to evaluate the situation to figure out if it is something we are comfortable with or not. For example, if a person were to pull a gun on me, this would be an obvious negative valence. I would feel violated. Griffin 2006 states Burgoon is not a cynic, but she thinks the issue of reward potential moves from the background to the foreground of our minds when someone violated our expectation and there's no social consensus as to the meaning of the act. Griffin 2006 states the communicator reward valence is the sum of the positive and negative attributes. For example, if I were at my husband's Christmas party, I would most likely be counting down the minutes until I could leave. But if I were introduced to a person who owned maybe a public relations firm, I would be highly engaged in conversation with them in order to set a good impression for the possibility of calling upon them in the future for any job opportunities. So I hope that is a good explanation of the expectancy violations theory by Judy Burgoon. Again, this is Kim Barnwell for week 2 of Communication 3000. Thank you.